Oh yeah, it's streaming. Great. Well, hello everyone. We're back. Ian Crossland here. I'm here with Drew Outstanding. What's up, dude? So we've known each other for a long time, 3 years, 3 years, something like that. And
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
generally, for people that don't know, you were in the army and then got the Pfizer mRNA vaccine and then contracted Guillain-Barre syndrome,
Guillain-Barré syndrome, GBS, Guillain-Barré.
and then crippled the body. Basically, what was it? I was reading a little bit about it, like just like magnetic spikes in the muscles and then general weakening or something.
Yep, that's the symptoms. So basically the idea is my immune system got tricked by a viral infection, thinking my body was the enemy. So instead of your immune system protecting you, it went to work just destroying everything in sight, starting with the nerves.
And then you retired because of
Yep.
that.
Yep, retired from military, from army, and then spent 6 months in the VA in the hospital, different hospitals for 6 months, and just a vegetable, like becoming grown again. Every system had to be grown again, and then got out and just trying to fight to survive right now.
When you were regrowing, what was the first steps? Like, what was the first things that would regrow?
I think it starts with your heart. So anything closest to the heart. They say, when you're lightheaded, you should lift up your feet to get the blood flow coming back. I think it's along that same line. So around my heart started to get better. When I say get better, the paralysis went away, but then it was like you said, that incredible nerve pain because the myelin sheath, the coating around the nerves, is gone, either gone or Swiss cheese about this point. So that's regrowing. But yeah, that was the electrical pain. I still have it in certain areas, especially the longest nerves, which are like the feet, the arms, limbs.
Okay. Do you feel connected to like the Earth's magnetic field? In that, I'm asking in that, like, are there like weather events that will like enhance or tinglify certain parts of you?
Yeah, that's a great question because right now in Minnesota, we got 4 seasons. We're coming out of winter and into spring. Anytime it jumps up like 20 degrees or the humidity changes, barometric pressure with the rain and everything, I feel it everything. I feel like gravity basically just coming down on top of me and just putting me a prison in my own body in a way. So yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I never thought about it like that.
Oh, so the storm's coming, you feel like intensified pulling or something?
Yep, I'd be like, I can anticipate the storm. It's on its way.
Whoa, you're a superhero, dude. That's like Peter Parker. He got fucked up by that spider, but then he got superpowers.
Yeah, that's a good way to point it. I'm a big superhero guy. So yeah, I resonate kind of with that a little bit.
So
those stories have to come from somewhere, some kind of human experience.
Oh yeah, like Bruce Banner, of course, getting irradiated and then becoming, well, he went a little nuts, but well, Bruce didn't. The Hulk. We can talk about this another time, maybe. Hey, okay. Well, I want to ask you now about your stories. That was just kind of an intro. If people didn't know who you were or don't know who you are, but what was it?
Yeah.
What was it? You joined the military in early, I think. I was
at
reading a little bit about your bio.
years old. So pretty much right after September 11th. September 11th happened in when I was a junior in high school. So I waited a couple of years and then got out. And then I'm like, I need to do something with my life. There's a lot going on. And so I decided to join active duty Army and got a ton of good training, worked with cool units. Think like a Black Hawk Down, that type of aviation operations kind of mindset.
What did you do?
That was the title, Aviation Operations Specialist. So basically like mission planning, mission execution, radio communication. It's kind of a miscellaneous aviation MOS, military occupational specialty, but working with special forces, air assault guys, just everything you can think of. Really cool officers. Just, yeah, it kind of was that movie kind of sense. I like it.
What was your rank?
I got out as an E6, a staff sergeant.
So were you like, you were coordinating between command setting up missions and the guys on the ground, basically?
Yep, that's a good way of putting it. And we were on the ground as well because we'd pack up everything pretty much intense, go to radios and stuff like that. Wherever the helicopters could go in like a safe area, we'd be plopped down in a tent doing radio communication with them. And so the farther they went out into hazardous, areas, farther we would go out too.
It was in Iraqi freedom. You were in Iraq.
Yep, Iraqi freedom. And then later when I was with the National Guard, it was more of a liaison. I was in Jordan, UAE, which is like Dubai area, Kuwait. So that was more of a higher scale, doing debriefings, analysis on other units throughout the whole theater. Theater meaning Iraq, Afghanistan, everywhere where the military was at the time in 2018, 2019.
Because those are spread out. You did Iraqi Freedom, which was, I mean, that was like 2005 or something.
Yeah, 2005. That was the year I was there.
And then you retired. Technically, you retired and then lived as a civvy for 12 years or something, and then rejoined in 2019, as it was.
I got out for 4 years, and 4 years I went to school during that time, and then realized I'm like, I want to stay in, but I want to stay more local. So I did the National Guard thing for another 12 or so years.
Oh, okay. And then you guys got called over to, where was it exactly? You were saying just generally in the Middle East, you would bounce around.
Yeah, Kuwait is a lot more nowadays, kind of like before with like Korea, Japan. After we're done with like a certain area, we tend to leave a footprint there. And so lately, Kuwait is that kind of spot. And so you send a unit into Kuwait, a lot of them stay there, and then a lot of them just spread out and then taking care of smaller operations. Cool. But that's really downplayed in the last 5 years, which I think is a good thing.
What's downplayed? Just landing and spreading out.
Presence, units deploying, but it's not in the masses of the tens of 20, 100,000 like it was before. I think,
I guess depends on your take on it, but yeah, I agree with you. I'm glad we're not in conquer mode at the moment. I think we can do things diplomatically, personally. I looked at Kuwait.
Surgically. I like that idea.
Surgically. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Specific.
Rather with the club, you use a surgical knife, I guess.
Yeah, or a laser.
Yeah.
When you look at Kuwait on a map, it really looks like the British Empire, whoever made that place, just carved out Iraq's coastline. And we're like, you don't get a coastal port anymore. We're going to take it and call it Kuwait.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what's that?
Yeah, it's wild how the lines go over the years.
So Saddam, of course, is like, well, I want my port city back. It's similar to like Putin being like, I want Sevastopol back. We want, Arabian Sea access. We want to ship stuff into the Indian Ocean. And that they were like, whatever. So that was interesting.
It always comes down to resources and supply lines. It's crazy.
Yeah, the Suez. I love looking at these canals like they're a big deal. If you can think geopolitically about, I just want money, transport of my goods, the canals become a lot of the reason for conflict, I think, or just trade routes in general.
Yeah.
So you like during your second, I guess, what was it, a second tour? Would you consider it your second tour?
Yeah, second enlistment, maybe. But yeah, second tour was a second deployment. Yeah, the terminology is different between branches and times,
deployment and tour. Okay.
Yeah.
So you received a vaccine, Pfizer, some mRNA vaccine, but were you not mandated? You were highly recommended to take it. What was it?
Yeah, it gets murky around there. The way I understood it, I was required to, and then different policies have different timelines, stuff like that. Either way, your command says to do a certain thing, just like any other. When you go through basic training, you get a line of vaccines. You're just in an assembly line getting like 13 of them. And then each deployment you go on, you get another different set. And I'm only now realizing, there's been a lot of history and some issues with the previous ones. And now this last one is a little bit different, more extreme, more different circumstances. But yeah, I guess there's been more pushback from the previous ones than I thought. So I've learned a lot in the last couple of years now.
Really? Are you finding yourself like a vaccination specialist? Are you getting it from like as a normie could possibly be? You're learning a lot about the different vaccines they administer in the military for deployment and stuff?
Yeah. Different time frames and then the different issues that kind of can come up too. So these issues were kind of anomalous. The COVID, the mRNA, some of these because the amount of Guillain, I got to say this word right. Guillain-Barré.
Thank you. Guillain-Barré syndrome was somewhat unprecedented. Like usually we don't hear about people in the military going through their rounds of vaccinations and coming out with injuries. It's not a common. I'd never heard of it until just recently.
It's more present now. More cases are getting studied. More, there's been more issues, and just the amount of supply that was put out to the public. I think there's more issues that are coming up. But yeah, I'm hearing more from other service members, veterans from previous deployments. They're like, yep, I got that same illness from, the flu shot or what have you. And these are all their personal experiences. I'm not claiming to, talking for anybody else or pushing anything, but yeah, this is just real people with real stories.
You tell me one of the reasons we were like, yeah, let's do a show. Cause you were like, when you got the vaccine or after the injury, really after the Guillain-Barré took over or whatever, that it was eating your, you passed out, went into like a coma for
They had to induce me into a coma. So they said, we need to perform this IVIG, intravenous immunoglobulin, which is like a plasma cocktail that helps out, and plasmapheresis, where they take out your blood, clean it up, and kind of put in new stuff. But in order to do that, they had to put me under. And I didn't know how long I was gonna be under, if I would even come back. So they put me under, and that's when the fever dream kind of happened.
Yeah, what was it?
10 days, lasted 10 days, but it felt like 10 years to me in my mind.
What? Yeah, time dilation. It's like if the thoughts are happening really fast, it'll seem like more in that duration.
Yep. So I never, well, it was kind of like a dream where I knew it was a dream. I knew it wasn't reality. But at the same time, it had that feeling like it was. But like a dream, or unlike a dream, I couldn't wake up. Like there was no just waiting till I woke up. I didn't get that feeling. I couldn't wake up myself, which I could normally do with dreams. I have, tough dreams sometimes from combat and war and stuff like that, where I can wake myself out of that. But this one could not. I had a ceiling on top of me. They said, you got to stay here. You got to play out this video game on Legendary and make it through. And it was tough.
I'll stop and pause every once in a while. I just kind of let you flow
jump in.
What is your tactic for waking yourself up when you're in the dream?
On a normal one, I don't know what the tactic is. It's just I can force myself out of it, and then I wake up and I'm either in a pool of sweat or whatever. Need to go to the bathroom, wash my face off with water, take some meditation time, whatever, and just kind of fight that kind of whatever occurrence, whatever that stemmed from. And if I kind of break it down once I woke up, I can usually kind of fight that. That was from a memory back then. That means nothing. But yeah, this coma fever dream was unlike anything else.
Yeah, I'll do when I'm waking myself up. I'll in the dream, if I'm like, oh, this is a dream, I'll squeeze my eyes really tight till they hurt. And as soon as I feel something, I open my eyes and it's actually me opening them. It's like I cause like some sort of pain connection to some sort of physical feeling connection to shock or something, and then my body is like feeling it. Anyway, sorry. So that's a little bit of
no, that's a good point. I'm just more in control when it's your typical everyday dream, and I can choose between I want to play this or I don't. I can choose to turn off the console, if you will.
And this was like, was it so you're in it, you have like a ceiling of this, like, oh well, there's no popping out of it. And then what happened?
It felt like a video game where it's tough and you're exploring different areas. So think of like my local city area or something, a place I'm familiar with. Like if you think of like DC or Miami or something where you're familiar with enough, but there's still like ground to cover to go on an adventure. It felt like that. Combined with like a Batman type atmosphere where it's just like a little goofy, you're on your own side quests and stuff, combined with my military experience where it's like a Black Hawk Down, movie type deal. And it just kept getting tougher and tougher. The thing that I could really remember, because I never slept, because you don't really sleep in a dream, but I had to be locked into a chair every once in a while. And I could tell when that was happening. That was when they were doing the treatments, the plasmapheresis, the IVIG, where everyone else can go about having an awesome time. And I'm stuck here like this because in the real world, I'm in a bed, right? I'm in a hospital bed. I'm laying down, got all these tubes in me. But in the dream, I can't move at all because I think my mind, I could sense they were doing things to my body, hopefully trying to help out. But when I was stuck in that role for however long it was, maybe 3 hours, something like that, I had to be sitting there watching the rest of the world pass me by.
Would it be like you're outside in the city walking around and then all of a sudden it's like you're pulled into a chair or dragged in? What did it feel
you're
like?
a video game guy, right? The save spots you got to go to?
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. I just got done playing Jedi Fallen Order, and every once in a while there's a save spot meditation area. So it's kind of like that feeling where it's like, okay, you need to chill here for a little bit.
Would you see it coming and you're like, oh, the meditation spot's coming? Or would you just all of a sudden you'd be there?
I would just all be there. I'd be locked in like cement or, like putting straps around my arms, and I'm locked into a chair. And it's like, yeah, I'm just here doing my forced meditation, I guess.
What was what was the plot?
Good question. I mean, the plot was, and this is where, I'd like your help on, and especially like religious people, it felt like a purgatory, like a way. It's like an in between, a world in between worlds is a Star Wars phrase, where it's like, okay, I'm not in the place I was before. I'm hopefully not at the end of my my life cycle now to go on to the next place. But it really was that idea of your life flashes before your eyes. But for me, it lasted what felt like 10 years, because I'm going back and trying to remember, uh, skills and things, and people I came across, people that were no longer in my real life, or were there for a little bit and give me some helpful hints, I guess.
Did you see? Well, maybe those were spirits. I was going to ask if you saw, because it sounds like DMT, or when people take ayahuasca, they have these spiritual in between reality perceptions where it's kind of like a dream state, they would say, but it's
Yep.
like DMT induced. Um, and I when I smoked vape DMT, I saw spirits. I didn't know what to call them. Personas, these high frequency density beings that were like shimmering light, but they looked like hominid. I could tell they were human, but it was like all the colors of the rainbow making like white. It was so bright that it was white, but it was like shimmering all the color I could see. And they were like entities, like specific different ones. They didn't show up as people I knew, probably because I wasn't asleep. So my mind wasn't that free. I was actually seeing maybe a more clear version of what the mind will turn into people in your dreams that you can identify with. This was more of like unidentifiable. I didn't have a reference point. It was just like the woman had long dark hair, like my mother. Like that was kind of my reference point. And the others were male energy. There was like a reference point there. But so
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these were people that I either knew, and then there were new people too. So it felt like I was on a new level in different parts of it. And then so that new level is like, okay, you're working with you're at this like house, which seemed like a haunted house. It felt like a puzzle because the rooms kept like changing, like Tetris type stuff. So it was things like that that kept it interesting and made me realize that it's not actual reality. Uh, but also made it tough at the same time. But like you said, there were like certain figures. There was like a two-figure person, or not person, but two people, like a mother and a father type deal. And they couldn't speak, but I could understand what they were trying to say, trying to, teach advice and try to figure things out. Like the whole thing felt like a puzzle that I didn't feel like I was winning at.
did it hurt?
I don't know, not physically, mentally. It was mentally straining. And so I could imagine like I felt the impact on my mind because of what was going on in my body, like in the real life.
Was it like were there moments where it wasn't strained?
Uh yeah, yeah. When I got up from that treatment stuff. So when that was over and I could stand up from a chair and walk around and move around, I felt like I was Superman, Felt like, oh wow, I'm back at it. I can go on and do some amazing things in life. And yeah, right after that treatment stuff, I ended up having something like seven iterations of one treatment and four on the other. So within that 10 days, I had 11 forms of treatment
Do
that they
you
were conducting.
do you remember them all specifically in the dream?
No, I mean, I couldn't pinpoint exactly. I mean,
So
not
what
yet. Maybe if I think about it like that, but yeah. But there were different phases. It felt like I had to do different jobs. Think of like the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, just goofy off the wall, kind of stuff.
like what?
Uh, so yeah, if you want to hear a weird one. So one, it felt like, uh, somebody was say somebody was going on a ride like at Disney World or Universal, and you got the animatronic kind of workers, whatever, in the background. It felt like I was one of those animatronics. And so I had like a job to do of like spray this ride with water. You know what I mean? Like that. So it was kind of like a game show, like a kind of Double Dare back in the day of, the slime and stuff like that. So just weird things. And that's where I want to say, like, that was like a piece of my 90s childhood, watching those Nickelodeon shows. Like stuff like that just kind of seeped in. So it's kind of like a time capsule in a way. Or like, you remember the movie Click with Adam
No,
Sandler,
I
where
never saw it.
he used a universal remote to slow
Oh
down,
yeah.
fast forward, and then go in different parts of his life. So it's kind of like that. It's like a universal remote.
Did you have the power to speed up and slow down time?
No, I think I could try. I think I'd be like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm gonna go off and try a different one. But then whatever was in power said, nope, you got to stay here for a little bit longer. You need to spend some time working at this. So
The
I felt like I learned different values along
of
the way.
patience.
Yeah. So like that one would be patience.
Whoa.
Yeah, which I think a lot of us struggle with, especially if you have goals. If you have goals or a sense of adventure, like patience is like a tough thing. I don't know
So
if
you've
you've experienced that. Have you gotten better at patience in
I'm
life
way better than I used to be.
later or now rather than previously?
Yeah. I didn't know that I wasn't patient when I was younger. I would just talk over people, or like if my mind would get distracted, but it's sometimes yeah, sitting, I don't know how to describe it, but like sitting with pain, like allowing it to be okay. It's kind of, or well, I don't know if it's pain is the right word, but like imperfection. There's like this desire to want to fix it. And then sometimes you just got to let it fix it, let it fix. You can't like, the more you yell at a plant isn't going to make it grow faster. And you've got to,
Yeah. Yeah, good point. I mean, that's what and it's finding that balance, because right when I got out of the hospital around October of 2021, like I'm like, okay, I'm out. They said I'm good. I'm ready to go get back to where I was, and my mind and body still wasn't. So it's like, all right, I have to sit here and just stay on the couch. But that drove me nuts. So I started making plans of, go out exploring. You guys were talking about like events and everything, and I'm like, I'm gonna go check it out. I'm gonna go to that AmFest or what have you, and yeah, and just met some awesome people like yourself.
yeah. And like patience doesn't mean doing nothing. Cause if you just had become sedentary and laid around, you probably wouldn't have healed as fast. Like it's this
Correct.
action and motivity that will like, can, even though you're moving, there's still like could be a patience to it, I suppose.
That's a good point, because like you hear people say like, "Oh, you just gotta wait," or "You just gotta try it," or you know, build yourself up with your bootstraps. All these things. There's always a two-part to that. There's always like have patience, but plan for your next step. And when the time is ready, go at it with everything you have.
I
And
think,
that's what I've been doing the last couple years, is just throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks.
yeah, I saw you were speaking at an event. What was it?
Yeah, that last one over Memorial Day was amazing. It was the March for Them. So a guy, a former ranger, got out of service, and he decided to just start marching, doing hiking around Memorial Day. And then kind of like Forrest Gump, he just got a following, and then he turned it into a nonprofit. Now it's been 10 years. This guy, first he was doing 26 miles, so a marathon of just walking early in the morning on Memorial Day. And then he wanted to get more people. So this last one has been like a 10-mile. But yeah, they get an amazing team. So I was able to speak at that event. And then I got a biking one coming up. I did some adaptive skiing in this past year. So
You did personally?
Colorado, New York, I've been doing sit down skiing.
What is that like?
It's crazy. Like I was not a skier before. I dabbled in snowboarding here and there. But when you're going so quick on a low, sled, pretty much on a ski down these mountains, have been absolutely incredible. But I tell people like my nerves are basically burnt off. I can't get nervous anymore. I just got to go for the thrill. But by doing that, then I can walk better, get out of the chair. I think maybe definitely when I met you for the first time, I was locked into a chair and I couldn't wait to get out. But at the same time, I didn't want to stay on the couch, so I found that medium by using a chair to get out and get in the world again.
Oh, now so you're regrowing myelin, the myelin sheath.
Yep, the myelin sheath. It takes so long for that stuff to grow. Think about when a baby becomes, over time, puberty, and then, 18, 25 to be fully grown. It's like that, where nerves regrow or grow at something like a centimeter a day or something like that. Or
What would you eat certain foods like aloe, or are there particular foods that regenerate myelin or enhance myelin?
I haven't heard of that one. I'll look into that for sure. But I've been cutting down everything I can. When I get away from wheat, gluten, dairy, all that kind of basically chemicals. I've really noticed more energy, faster recovery time with different things. So yeah, I'm trying to keep it basically like meat and vegetables at this point.
Yeah. Let the body do its thing. It's eh, oh, okay. Wait. So okay, I wanted. There's like three things I
Yeah,
want
I
to throw out
know.
there.
Yeah, we could talk for
Like
24 hours
nerve
straight.
regeneration, dude. Because I'm a, me, I'm an electromagnetics man, and when you think about
Yeah,
the way that magnetism interacts with chemistry, electrochemistry, that's like kind of an not super understood science yet. It's
right.
relatively early in the understanding of the way we're getting tweaked by the resonance of these large celestial bodies vibrating and other types of vibration.
Yeah, and they said that I only healed the way I did because of my age from this disease, because of my age and my fitness. Because before that, I thought I was just fine, be like, healthy. And I'd eat pizza and Taco Bell and drink and stuff like that. And it really wouldn't have a big impact, maybe a day. But I can't do that anymore. Like I gotta watch what I eat, which most people should be doing, and what you take into your body. I always heard that from people growing up, but it didn't really make sense until I became in a state of mind where it's just I really have to focus on what I put into my body or even on my skin nowadays too.
Yeah,
Because like you said, with the electrical, I have it from my tip of my fingers across the whole surface area in different scales.
are there like magnetic therapies? They have this cranial stimulation therapy they do where they like put electrodes on the head and it stimulates brain, like can alleviate depression. I've heard.
I haven't seen that one. I do red light therapy. So I got these like
Oh,
red light paddles that I put in my feet. I can put them anywhere. I can even put them on my head. And I think eyes, you have to be careful. But I can put them all over. So I do that 20 minutes a day.
I heard. I don't know. Oh, what's it? What were you gonna say?
Yeah, it gives me like 24 hours of relief,
For how many minutes a day?
20 minutes a day. So I
I
do it 20 minutes in the morning, and then I get about 24 hours of less crazy pain.
There's this neuro. I don't know if he's a neuroscientist. His name's Chase Hughes. It was on Joe Rogan's show, and he had been suffering seizures and was like terrified because he understands the brain. He's like, I know where this leads. And he ended up getting into this. It's called methylene blue. You've probably heard of it.
Oh,
It's
yep,
been
yep, tried it.
making its rounds. So I was like, oh, well, I would like to try this. So I bought it. It's like an old clothing dye from the late 1800s. But apparently, because of the blueness, this is what Chase says, is that it really enhances the effectivity of red light therapy because
Okay.
it absorbs all the blueness out and it's left is red. So according to him, he made some claims. Haven't really looked into it, but that was interesting. And I wonder if what this stuff is. I've been really careful with it, and like I'm not just going to start eating it because someone told me to. So I've been reading about it, and that's interesting. I think it might help heal the mitochondria from the damage they're taking from seed oils. It's tough to tell. The free
It is tough
radicals.
to tell, but I've heard many people in my circles just swear by the methylene blue.
And when you mentioned red light therapy, I thought, oh, maybe that would be interesting. I don't know if so I tried a little bit, stain my tongue blue. They say it can stain people's organs blue. I'm like, all right, okay. Interesting concept. So there's that.
It's worth looking into. I mean, things that will help.
Yeah, exactly. Like tiny. I love healing. That's one of the problems I've had in my life, and maybe you can identify this. I think because I enjoy healing so much myself and helping other people heal, that I would hurt myself subconsciously so that I could heal it. Did you ever find yourself in those places where you would like stunt or hurt yourself or do something to yourself so that you could heal it?
I mean, maybe. I would say that with this adaptive sports that I've been doing, because like the skiing is no joke. Because like I was hesitant at first, because like if I fall, it feels like if I fall over, and I've had falls before, it feels like a truck has just hit me. You know what I mean? So it's like I had to really convince myself to get on this ski, but I had instructors and everything, and I took some tumbles and stuff like that, and it's just like I know I have to have some kind of pain, but what can I control to heal up, like you were saying? And that's controlling my controllables.
Yeah,
Uh,
I want to ask about the pain because, like, what I imagine it's not soreness. Like, you said it's more of a tingling. Like, how does the pain manifest?
it
Generally?
varies like all the time. I can't imagine just being a normal, healthy, pain-free person again. That would be great to get to. That'd be amazing. But right now, it's constant fatigues, muscle cramp, like you said, the pins and needles, electroshock. That's the worst. You know, that will come and go. I have my good days and bad, but pretty much I like you tell me, like you feel like, you know, when do you feel at your worst? Like after a workout?
2 days ago. I hiked 15 miles 2 days ago. So you were talking about this.
What do you feel like after that for the next 24 hours?
My gosh. Well, so busted, dude. I haven't hiked more than 4 miles in 15 years.
So your legs tight, jelly?
Yes, it was the outside of my knees were so sore, like it was the IT band or the muscle or the tendons or something on both. And then all of a sudden my upper thigh, it started to get really, and it wasn't a cramp. It was like lactic acid buildup was causing this wild soreness. And I was like, oh, I was like lifting my leg to walk as I was coming up the hill to go home. And I knew it's going to come down to what I put in my body right now, because if I go eat a bunch of shit, if I go eat sugar, I'm going to be feeling like this for 3 or 4 days. So I got in the tub, a magnesium salt bath, and soaked for about 2 hours. I laid in the tub, probably about 2 hours, let the water drain a little, put fresh hot water in just to keep the soak. And I had a magnesium smoothie with the green vegetables, because at the center of every chlorophyll molecule is magnesium. So I think it's a very good molecule to, well, as they say, for muscle cramps, it reduces muscle pain, but also to utilize sunlight. If you take a lot of sun in a day, you know, the magnesium's like at the center of what chlorophyll does. So there might be something to eating that after you get a lot of sun. But because of that, I woke up and I felt better the next day. I thought I was going to feel worse, but I felt better.
Point. So yeah, that kind
of you're muted.
That
your audio's cut out. Can you hear me?
Semi cramping. That's how I feel like every day. So by
can anyone hear me?
1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's
you're muted.
I'm muted.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can't hear you. You're muted. You've been muted for that whole awesome that monologue you just gave. Okay, maybe you're just muted on my end. That would be
I don't know.
I'm
doing
affairs,
okay right now.
Give me 1 second. Hello?
Yeah, I got you. I can hear you.
One more. Yeah? Hello?
Yeah. Yep, I got you.
No, I just can't hear you.
I don't know why, man.
You hear both of us? All right, let me test this out.
It's a you thing. Hey, well,
how's that?
I'm good.
I hear you again.
Okay.
Weird. Haven't had that error before. Okay, cool. The stream heard everything. So you're gonna have to tell me that again. I was just
done listening to you saying, you know, what you went through on that hike, you know, and afterwards. That's kind of how I feel every day by about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So right now I feel like I just you know, worked out, you know, went for a hike, and the body's feeling that. But I'm so used to it right now, but I got to be used to, like you said, what you need to do to recover. So yeah, I do the salt bath, the Epstein, whatever.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So I do the salt, the what else? The red light therapy. I mean, just water constantly. So yeah, I pretty much don't drink anything except for water and some like liquid IV and stuff like that. I got rid of alcohol, pop, soda, you know, all that kind of stuff. And
coconut water?
Yeah, I'll have some of that stuff too. I'm just so mindful now, because like, okay, I'm about to drink this. Like, what's the chemicals, or how are these chemicals gonna F with my system, you know?
I imagine electrolytes are important because it's electro, and if you're having nerves, which are electric, you know, there's this electrolytic. That's the coconut water. They're like, it's the best electrolytes, they say, or some coconut waters, and that's like putting salt in your water gives you that little bit of electrolyte.
Yep.
Do you ever do inversion tables?
Yes. Yep. That's helped too.
What's that been like?
It kind of shakes things up inside. So like, imagine if so my condition, it's a neuromuscular, meaning like mind and muscles. And of course, those things are connected to everything. So it's like everything, all that inside me gets like stuck. Think of like a factory machine that, you know, without the grease, without, you know, just metal on metal. When I do like the inversion therapy, the upside down, anything like that, I feel like it just shakes things up and loosens everything up without me having to do anything. So it's like you said, like gravity and stuff. Like, yeah, gravity's kind of been my friend lately.
Oh, have you done an intestinal cleanse?
Maybe. I've done some stuff.
I
don't
did
know.
this.
Someone
I feel
different.
like it's almost like a meme, like take a drink of healthy fresh water every time I talk about intestinal cleanse. But I did this thing called the Zen cleanse, and which you can
Okay.
go to cleansewithian.com if you want to get it through my affiliate site. It was a week long, 10 days of ingesting, like it's a fast basically, and then they give you all these fruits and vegetable powders that you drink, and you drink this like vinegar, this sweet vinegar kind of juice called Hygeia, and on day 2, all this mucoid plaque comes out of your ass, and it's like this hose of plaque buildup over decades. It builds up inside you, and it is flushed in like a day. And they encourage you to get a colander and like get chopsticks and look at it and be like, what is this that builds up inside the human body in your colon? Like you'll see huge, tight, dense plaque, and it's like, when I did it, it was like this. And then the cleanse wraps up with a liver flush. So it's really 2 cleanses back to back. Once you clear out the intestines, the liver, then you do this night where you drink all this olive oil and lemon juice and this concoction. You go to sleep, hold your liver, you wake up, and you basically crap out. You release all these gallstones, these little green balls, and that are held in your gallbladder. The liver makes them, puts in the gallbladder. It softens up, it loosens up, and opens up the intestine that week before. So you're able to get all these gallstones out. I felt enlightened. And what that meant was like, it didn't hurt. My stomach didn't hurt as much. I felt literally lighter, but I also felt enlightened in that the things from my past, I could remember things without emotional attachment. Like I used to snap to I remember the thing, and I remember the emotion attached to the thing at the time.
Oh, good call.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I didn't get this stuck with the emotion. So I could clearly remember what I've done and what happened to me, and more clearly. And I got less nervous. It was the most healing experience I've ever had in my life. Hands down, a mile ahead of the next one, whatever the next thing has been. So that I would love to. I'll tell you more
that
about
out. Yeah, I've done a 5-day cleanse before with their, the bottles and the ingredients and stuff like that, and that worked out pretty well. I don't know all the details of what was in it. I had a doctor, walk me through it, but sounds a little bit different than what you went through. What
was your cleanse? What was yours like?
I think it was just to flush everything out. So yeah, it was drinking a lot. It couldn't eat for whatever. I was, they're like, okay, day 1, eat this much, stuff. And day 2, even less. Day 3, all that. And then you do a fast and you're just drinking their stuff. But yeah, everything kind of came out, kind of like you said. I didn't analyze it enough, but I'm just like, I slept for most of it.
Yeah. I was real cold and heat sensitive during the middle of the week, because I think when you flush out all that stuff, all that plaque, you're losing a lot of like white blood cells as well. Like,
good point.
It's a lot of parasites and stuff that lives inside that plaque that is flushed. So it's not a parasite cleanse, but it removes the environment that the parasites live in. So it's technically, cleansing. What I'm wondering about Guillain-Barré syndrome is it a virus that does it, or is it that it's just something that happens? Because like autophagy, what you're mentioning is when you're cleansing and you're fasting, your body starts eating the crap. It's like it doesn't have food to eat, so it starts eating like some of the nasty stuff. It's called autophagy. So when the body starts to eat aspects of itself that aren't good, and it kind of cleans up the system. But
I wonder, it's rare that they can't do a conclusive thing that, like, cigarettes cause lung cancer. They can't make a direct connection like that because there's just so much things out there. Google says it could be caused by a bacterial or viral infection, but we have so many bacteria and viral stuff going on out there that's hard to narrow down. But they've concluded many things when it comes to synthetic vaccines and things like that. So who knows? I mean, it's above my pay grade. I've been speaking out. I've been to DC trying to work with different congressional members and stuff like that, and it's an uphill battle to navigate this round.
So it's super new, this Guillain-Barré thing, relatively.
I mean, the word is like the word is FDR had it, because they thought that he had polio, because it's a version of polio. The Guillain-Barré syndrome is a version, the French version of polio. Polio is what they call it. So some people are speculating now that FDR had it and didn't want to tell anybody and was locked to a wheelchair for a while and stuff like that. But
I heard that
it could have been similar ones. So it's in the family of like ALS, MS, that kind of stuff. Each one is a little bit different from one another, but with GBS, it's the tricks your immune system. And then once that's tricked, it's destroying everything in your body, going from your nerves and then going to organs. They put me in the coma right before it started going after my heart, lungs, and brain.
That's such a weird thing to do. So
yeah, right. Maybe we shouldn't mess with that stuff.
Yeah, I try not to do too much. Like less is more. It's an acting trope too. They're like, yo, less is more. The more like stable you are, the more interesting you become.
Yeah. So I'm more careful, like I said, about what I eat and put on my body now too.
I heard that I think Candace Owens was doing research on that polio potentially had come from a vaccine, like a bad vaccine batch that infected the population. They're like, oh, it's a virus. Forget about it. And then all of a sudden it disappeared completely. And they're like, yeah, I mean, I didn't follow up. I don't know if it's.
Yeah. I heard she was doing some awesome research. She was on the show in, were you there in Iowa when he was doing it? I can't remember if you were at that one. Okay. Yeah. I was talking to Candace a little bit about that. Yeah. Cause that was around the time she did a ton of research.
I also heard, and this is like completely unrelated. I heard this 12 years ago that HIV had been introduced inadvertently through an MMR vaccine batches in the early 80s. No one, I don't know if this is true or not, but that it was a lot of people got it. It was just the people that were, or their immune systems were all fucked up. Like the dudes in New York that were partying till 4 a.m. in the gay culture. They said they were, that's can be hard on your immune system if there's penis and butt. Like that's pretty dirty. And then they're doing poppers. So like these dudes with like really roughed up immune systems got sick. They were the ones that started to exhibit sickness, but that it had been inadvertently just in the supply, because when you're filtering viruses in through the blood and in through the serum, you from what I've heard, if you want to let a little bit of that in so that you can have the inoculation, the porous holes that allow the virus through also are big enough for other little tiny bits of stuff to get through. And they couldn't like protectantly filter. This is what I've heard. The creation process wasn't, it was like, it's not a lockdown, sealed up, 100% stamp of approval kind of situation. They're sending out these. So that was really interesting because that thing just appeared.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I didn't, you're a little bit older than me, but I didn't realize all that was going on during that 80s AIDS stuff. I found out more about it in the last couple of years by watching some documentaries and stuff like that. And when I was watching those, like Fauci was in there. He was like part of that whole deal during that time. That's where he cut his teeth, I guess,
Yeah.
And got him to the point where he was during the COVID time. It's wild it's like you don't know what to believe anymore when you look into this stuff. It's tough.
I think it's important. I don't like making claims about this stuff either, and but it's like, good Lord, I'm let food be thy medicine, and let medicine be thy food. Like whatever you're going to put in your body, you should. I think you should know what it is. Personally, I mean, I'm not. It's not even medical advice. That's just like common sense of like, hey, you're going to put that in your mouth. Do you know what that is? If a guy picks something up off the ground, they're like, hey.
Yeah,
it's like friendship advice. Do you know what that is? You're about to put in your mouth.
Watching each other's back. That's a good point.
I kind of want to go back to your dream because I feel like it's a big what happened.
Yeah, well, it got more in depth when like my friends and family, and that's a good way to put it. Maybe it started right away where it's just like acquaintances, people popping in to be like, hey, remember this conversation we had 20 years ago, that kind of deal. And then it got closer to, friends and family, and they were in pain too. So it's like I'm seeing friends and family. So that's when like the torture kind of aspect started to feel. It's like, okay, this is not good. Where's my call to action? I need to help out and help out other people. I've always been like a problem solver, but it kept getting me into a point where like going back to that patience, I was stuck in a chair having to watch other people kind of suffer. And it's like, is there more I can do? How can I help? And then that just kept escalating more and more, where it's getting more graphic, like in my mind. So it's like watching my family members be in pain. And maybe it's like the whole thing and be like, all right, I'm going through all this and then I get out of this. And how do I explain it to others about what's going on inside me, about the pain that I'm experiencing or the crazy discomfort? So it's that whole communication. I think going back to another value, it's like now I admire communication, like effective communication, nonverbal, all these different ways through the internet now that we have different technology. And it's just, we got to stay connected as people,
Yeah, the most torturous dream I ever
Isolation.
had. What's it? It was well. There's this dream I had that was like it was the most torturous nightmare I've ever had. I was deeply sick with strep throat, horrible fever, pain, and I fell asleep. But because of it, I was in a trench with my father in like World War One. He kept getting up and running out of the trench, and I kept seeing him get shot and killed. And then the dream it would start over again, and I'd be like, no, and he'd be like, I got, and he'd like run and get. I'd see him get killed, and it kept happening, and it was like only it was the I think it was the physical pain that was causing my mind to be like exhibit this horror.
Yeah, there's some kind of connection there. Like, who knows? There are people out there that have an idea of how this stuff works, but it's wild, the mind body connection.
And then you were saying you were like in the dream, stuck watching people suffer for you would express it as like a 10-year. This is like 10 years of your life you were living in this. And it
Yeah.
so what I'm imagining is that it actually changed. You changed as if it was like 10 years of life watching that happen. Because since I've known you, you've been aggressively communicative and wanting to help people. Like were you just not as much like that before and it transformed you?
I mean, I was, but growing up, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how you can help. So it's like I've been a server, bartender before I joined the military, and then after that, I was always in a some kind of business where I'm providing some kind of help, and I never want to be that pushy kind of guy. But it's just like, hey, how can we work together? So I had those basic steps, but after I go through this kind of experience, it's like it put a time clock on there. It's like we only have so many seconds, so many minutes, so many hours in the day. I just watch so many people with like talent and skill and opportunities, and they just be like, "Yep, just another day. It is what it is." And I'm like, there's so much more to life, than that. That kind of mentality. And so I'm just in this mindset where I can't waste any seconds especially with healthy ones. When I'm feeling good, I gotta strike while the iron's hot. And so that's
Oh,
why I've been just loving the traveling, getting out, meeting people. Hey, you're awesome. Like when you go out to an event and you're talking to the people in the crowd or on the street. Yeah, I like the way you connect with people. That's a cool quality. I see more of that. I see how other people like function so well, like with their own way of thinking and their own way of life. And I'm like, that is, I don't know, just that whole gratitude thing and just appreciation for how others go about their life. I think that's been a huge shift the last
yeah.
5 years.
I've been thinking about like sometimes people aren't appreciated till after they're dead, after they're gone. And I'm like, I just don't want to live like that anymore. I want to appreciate them while they're here.
Yep.
And if I could, like some of my idols, Robin Williams, Chris Cornell, people that are like, I should have worked with them, man. Scott Weiland, STP. I knew a guy that was his like roadie assistant who was friends of mine, and I didn't pursue. And then I just assumed it would always be available. And I've that's the big change for me is like just gratitude now, because we're
It
really
is.
making it
Yeah.
happen. What and in the dream, when you were in your dream state, were you getting rewards when you would see your family suffering and like being I would imagine it's like gruesome torture, like ripped up. I mean, I don't know. Were they like being
At some points, yeah.
would
Well,
they
let me put it like this. So I was given this like device. So they give me like this, like call it a phone, So somebody gives me this device and I'm playing with it. I'm figuring it out. I'm kind of putting my own spin on it. And then I realize it's kind of like that, like I said, that click, that virtual remote where I can speed up something and then slow it down. So I end up doing it accidentally, kind of with the dog. So I get my dog to run around really fast, like he just spent a whole day, exercising, jumping up, taking it. So it's like I can control how fast my dog goes. And then it gets out of whack, it just, and then he jumps into a car and somebody takes him, and then that car hits another car. And then I'm like, what did I do? How did I have a part to play into what this happened? And so then it's like, okay, what if I go to a repair person and repair that and reverse it? It's like that whole, how much pain did I cause? Can I undo it? Can I backspace? Can I control Z? That type of feeling. And so that's why like when the whole spiritual kind of thing comes into play too, it's like, how much is within my control? How much is not? How much of it do I got to say like, all right, this, somebody else's control? Or that's what I've been trying to work through on mine too. Isn't
yeah,
that kind of out there? Or have you heard
No,
anything
because
like that?
I do, because it's the difference of controlling and influencing reality. I thought about this even a few days ago. Like I used to think I'm controlling my reality. Now I see it more as like I'm influencing it, but I'm not really in control. I'm kind of in control of my body electromagnetically, but there's still outside things that can be like, oh, I think you can move your arm. Wait till an 80-pound weight falls on it, then try and be in control. So
No, that's a good point with like the paralysis when I was in the hospital, because like everything, I was stuck to the bed. You asked like what kind of opened up first. It was around my chest, my trunk. So I could move things like this, but the arms were still just dead weight if I could even get. So everyone had to move my body around. Basically every day felt like kind of like high school, whereas every hour of the day was a different like class, like physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, all these different things. And then in between, every 4 hours, I'm getting drugs, medication into my body. And keep in mind, I had a food tube, breathing tube, everything. So it's going straight into my stomach. So what they do is they had to like grind up the pills, put it into water, and then push it into my stomach. And like they had me on oxy, fentanyl patches. Like the amount of pain was just ridiculous. And I was never into this stuff before. But they actually had to put me on all this stuff just so I could even like maintain, let alone try to get sleep or stay asleep. So every day for nearly 4 months was just this. Maybe the coma dream prepped me for this new world and body and mind that I had to go back into in the real world of just suffering all this crazy stuff hour after hour, with limited visits from family. This is COVID time, so couldn't get anything. Yeah, all I could really do is just, stare at hospital ceilings.
were you, when you came out of the dream, was it like all at once, or did it you see it and then go back in and spend a few days in
To me, it felt like all
purgatory?
at once and then just going back to sleep. But I just remember the doctor being like, "So, how are you feeling? Are you hallucinating?" And I wanted to like look at somebody and say like, "Why is the pink elephant ask me if I'm hallucinating?" It did feel like that because I was seeing weird things, but I didn't really want to admit to, seeing the goofball things. I'm like, "Oh, okay, they're gonna throw me into some locked cell again." So it's like, nope, I'm good. Let me out. And I obviously couldn't get out because I was still stuck in that bed for another 4 months. But it was wild. It was something I that's why I'm glad we're doing this, because like I'm trying to break the stuff down and really understand.
Yeah, when
Because the
you
whole
got,
world moved on and they're just like, all right, you're good, figure it out. Let's not talk about what happened in 2020, 2021 anymore. It's like, nope, I want to talk about this. I want to figure it out on all these different levels.
yeah, because it's a cycle. I'm sure it has happened before and could potentially happen again where something's administered to a populace. I don't know if that's, I mean, were they able to verify that the vaccine caused the Guillain-Barré syndrome, or is it just a correlation at this point?
Yeah, I have documents that say so and everything like that, but doctors don't really want to like put it in their own notes, or they're hesitant. They were more hesitant before. Now they're getting a little bit better, but it's way more political than it should be
Yeah, I
when
agree.
it comes to like healthy people and
When you,
healthy.
oh yeah. I like making it more of like a cultural phenomenon. When you came out of the dream, was it like reality was nonsensical for a period? Like you said, there was hallucination, but like, what was it? What was that nonsense like?
Yeah, I mean, I was stuck in a hospital room. At this time, I was in Minneapolis, so which was wild because a year before was the Summer of Love. George Floyd, civil unrest, riots in Minneapolis, where I was in the National Guard at the time, and so I got activated for that week of just kind of pandemonium. I believe you were following it a lot, and so it's like, okay, I'm stuck in this place. It kind of felt like that Walking Dead zombie post-apocalyptic type feel. So
Was
a little bit goofy,
was
but
was like the first hour you were out of it? Do you clearly remember the first hours you were out of the dream back and facing this dream? I don't know if this
I
is
just
dream or what.
remember seeing hospital staff a lot because they're always coming check on me. I was probably in and out of consciousness, just constantly. There's nothing for me to do other than try to like be awake, if not, try to sleep and away from pain. But yeah, nurses were checking on me constantly. I remember one room, there was a window. So it was like a window that they could bring up and down. And when it was up, you had the lady that was sitting there, I guess to like monitor, maybe that
Oh
was
yeah.
like a monitoring station to check and make sure the patient's okay when I was really critical. And I just remember, and I guess it wasn't my dream because I remember that when I got out, maybe it was a post, regular dream. But I remember it being like a painting, like on a haunted house or those houses where it's like the painting goes kind of up and down. So I remember sometimes it looked like a painting of a person, of a woman, and then sometimes it was an actual woman that was moving around. That was a goofy thing. So I'm like, what's going on with that painting over there? Is somebody behind that painting? Like, I didn't want to ask anybody that, like any of my family or guests that was with me, because it would sound crazy. But they're like, later I realized, like, oh, that was a window of where the nurse was sitting at. So
That
goofy stuff like that.
I've taken psilocybin a bit here and there, and I've had an experience with psilocybin. I don't know if you've ever taken psilocybin. It's where life stood out against non-life. Like anything that was non-living, wood, steel, buildings, roads, they would all be like, it looks like a set, like a painting, like you said, like it was a set piece, a three-dimensional set built and put here for me. And now I'm looking around at these like balls of salt water, these sacks of salt water, like amorphously wiggling through this hard reality. And that was very disorienting and reorienting of an experience to see the differential between, in the way you're describing the nurse in the painting. She's part of the painting, so she wasn't standing out, apparently, according to how I was hearing what you were saying, as much as when on the psilocybin, how she would have been like, what is that creature there morphing inside of this square box?
Yeah.
But I wonder if there's something like rewiring of brain activity where like the understanding or belief that it is a real thing is not there. So you're just kind of seeing the plaster of two-dimensionality.
That could be, yeah, there could be something there where it's trying to, the mind is just trying to figure out what's going on, and it doesn't quite have the tools or the neural pathways, I guess, to make sense of something so brand new and something so like severe and just not a normal thing to go across. And I wonder if it, like I said, it kind of combined with feeling like Black Hawk Down, so that like my military background, the cities, the places I've been to just for a short time came back to me and be like, okay, we're back in this place now,
In the dreams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think of it as a dream or as a bunch of dreams?
It's probably a bunch. It's probably that main one. So think of it like an earthquake, and then you have the after effects. And that's the way I think about when it comes to Guillain-Barré syndrome. It's like the hurricane comes in, or the earthquake, and does a bunch of damage, and then it's pieces out. It goes on to something else or fades away, but then it leaves all this damage. And so like now I feel like I'm the damage left from a hurricane or an earthquake. And then that first year or two afterwards, I was going to the emergency room basically every 2 or 3 weeks, later on every month, because I can relapse and get like a viral infection. I remember I got like influenza A one time, where it's like, all right, I feel like I'm dying again. Like, and it takes a lot for me to like go into the hospital, let alone tell them I'm at a 9, 10 level pain. It's like, okay, this is really not feeling well again. They're like, yep, you have influenza A. It basically re-heightened everything you've been through, made it feel like you're going through the same thing again. And I'm like, okay, what can you do for me? What's going to happen? And they're like, we'll give you some stuff, but you just kind of see the storm through. And that's kind of been my life now, is just kind of seeing the storm, just so I can get to that healthy view, fun island, in a way.
Yeah, it's within you.
It is
The hyper,
like it sucks
because it's raining. Yeah. There's good points. Trust me, I believe there are.
Yeah, they're worth it. Yeah, like you and I hanging out a couple times. Like, yeah, those comedy shows have just been amazing. Yeah, so I've met some amazing people, some experiences in the last 4 years that I never thought were possible. And now people are connecting with me, and they're like, "Yeah, I went through something similar. Let's work on a project together." And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's see where this goes."
What kind of like what people? So I was wondering that a lot actually before we did the show. Like how's post life, or how's just been like the people you've been meeting? Like what's it like?
Yeah, I listen to their stories, I share mine, and it's like, all right, let's come up with some kind of artistic way to like get this out. And that could be, going to the golf range or the firing range or working on a video project together. A lot of the comedy stuff was cool because I'm not a comedy guy myself, but like I appreciate, like you brought up Robin Williams, George Carlin. I went back and watched those old ones. I'm like, this is amazing. And you could tell like those guys are suffering in one way or another. And they were able to put it out there in a certain kind of art form. Like Robin Williams, like most people just know him as like the Disney, dad character, guy, genie, whatever. But no, it's like he had some dark comedy that he would do. He did some other movies like with Al Pacino, Insomnia, and stuff like that. Where it's like I've taken this time now, and I dove into like people that suffered in life, but we're able to turn it into some kind of project to get it out to people to try to like relate in a different kind of way.
Yeah, that's a phenomenon of suffering, man, because I, in my late 20s, really had a nervous breakdown. I was an actor since I was like 13. And then in my late 20s, YouTube appeared and I started making an internet video, and I was in LA and I had this agent and this manager. And then they were like, Ian, we need you to, a lot of things happened, but they were like, we need you to shut up, stop making YouTube videos because we want to sell you. You're going to be the next big thing in Hollywood. And I didn't want to shut up. I didn't want to become a package deal and used to sell product and have to be fake. I didn't want it. So I basically told him to shove it and lost my management and had a nervous breakdown. Like, what am I doing with life? What's the point? I thought I was going to be an actor. I guess there's no point. And I was like, suicidal ideation, never really thought about it, but I was like, is that it? Did I just accomplish my task? It's over. Did I do, and anyway, that horror, that consistent, that pain that lasted like 2 years of agony, of unknowing, of just loss, of just, I don't know. A lot of it was self-induced, but I came out of it such a better actor because I now have access to that pain.
I would say you came out of it as a better person, and then that related to your acting. You know what I mean?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I look at it myself. I am, and maybe better is not the right word, but I'm just a different person. And maybe that's why, I can't relate as well with my past friends and family in the same way I did before, and that's everybody. We all grow, we hit our 40s and, kind of things change. But man, I just connect with different kind of people. And like you said, sometimes I just like to go to like some kind of performance, whether it's a comedy or a play or whatever, and just sit there and take it all in. Like I guess my first 20 or 30 years, or call it my career life, it was just on this track, whether it was military or college or work and get your first big boy job and then pay off debt and buy this and buy that. And it just felt so good to get good in a way to get off that track and just really take in everything else around me. And I like the idea of just building my own path and building my own vehicle to kind of get there these days.
It's kind of like the hero's journey. I had a similar stuff with my childhood friends. I fell out of contact with a lot of them. They were like, what people, they were like, literally like, what's wrong when I was having this weird transformation? And I was like, what would Jesus do? And they were like, what is wrong with you? This is not you. You're like a different person. And then my parents even were like, Ian, what is wrong? And, I just was a different person. I became a different person. I didn't like ribbing my friends anymore. I used to say mean jokes. I used to make fun of people for a laugh. I don't know. My priorities shifted, I guess. And it's like, just because somebody had known them for a long time doesn't mean you have to keep hanging out with them. And I still have love, but it was just, I'm drawn to different kinds of people now.
Yeah. Chris Williamson says something like, when people say you've grown or say you've changed, it's because they don't know how to say you've grown. And that's a good way I found to think about it. Cause yeah, you're going to have your seasons with people when you're young, you have so much just common ideas and with the same type of groups. And as you grow and expand and try new things, it's almost necessary that there's going to be a bigger gap between those people. But yeah, and some people are just good for a season, and then you go back and find them in a different season.
I tried the way of like getting my friends from back in the day to come join me on this quest. I'm like, hey, let's be at my level, and they're like, okay. In the very beginning, people are like, well, I got nothing else going on, sure. And then they come out and then there's that experience of like, well, they're not at that level. They like, we're still friends. They're excited about the success or the whatever, but and then it's like the sadness of, well, realizing your friend and you aren't really cut out for your journey. I've had that happen, and I think that's
Yeah.
like probably a character in different stories and movies you'll see where it's like,
That's a good point. And because like I've dove into like older movies, stories and stuff like that. And maybe you're not good in the day to day with each other anymore like you were, but maybe it'll come a time where you need each other, like a post apocalyptic thing or something really important, and you need or they need you because of the things that you've gone through
yeah.
since then.
And also hearing their perspective on life from your new place and your new self is really cool, because you still like them, like you still get along, even though you don't have as much in common. And then you get to kind of hear about their lifestyle, and they'll give you very clear, honest advice.
I just like finding the people nowadays that you can just open up about anything. You know, they can talk and you can listen, and then you can talk and they can listen. And not having that time constraint. Be like, all right, well, my lunch break is over. Got to go.
Yeah, internet videos opened up the world to have long communications with people. You don't have to like go meet them somewhere, and it's obviously on video recorded for the world to listen to join in.
Yeah, which is a great medium now, because rather than just making a movie, putting it out, taking 2 years to make, and then just you have to sit there and watch it. Now there's immediate reaction.
I could go on about your dreamscape, because I feel like that alone could be like a 200-part video. I mean, it depends on how you want to, because it was okay. So like, okay, but we've been going for like over an hour. I was thinking about maybe we could wrap the show, but like, what else are you thinking about? Like, what was on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, just where to take this information kind of next. What more to kind of explore. I'm sure there's places around the country, definitely around the world, that would highlight this kind of stuff. Think about like a certain hike. I said I just got out of Colorado, which was an amazing place. I was up 14,000 feet, and it was sunny. And then 5 minutes later, we're in a snowstorm. So it's like I did some reflection. I think I got a couple of videos on my YouTube during that time. I'm like, well, I guess I'm in a snowstorm, and so let's wait here and reflect, type of deal. But I'm sure there's places, have you heard of any places around the country, around the world, that just like, well, are good to kind of open up to ideas and thoughts and figuring things out?
Sedona. Is it Sedona, Arizona? Sedona?
Yeah.
Apparently it's on a ley line, and it aligns with Earth's electromagnetic field underneath the ground. There's these ley lines, and apparently there's a lot of electromagnetic sensitivity in that area. That might be fascinating.
Okay. Yeah. What about doing like a video or a live stream like from there, or at least a video? Would be like, all right, here I am. Here's what I want to talk about. I got this buddy here, and we're gonna break down this area.
Oh, so
I mean, that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to go to different places and then just create a story.
Yeah, people listening too can contact you on X at Drew Outstanding to get if you have ideas and you want to move stuff forward too.
Yeah, Drew Outstanding on X. I've really been connecting with a lot of people that have been through trauma, either similar to mine, with the response to the pandemic and all that nonsense. But then other things. People have been through some crazy, military trauma, or just, family stuff, and we've been able to connect. So yeah, I'm trying to help out with there. And it's you help me out, it helps myself, and we're just kind of breaking down this life. Well, helping that we have, my phrase right now is just like, it's about time. So it's like, it's about time to get up. It's about time to walk around, to roam, to kind of fly and talk.
Yeah. Time is motion. Like, make it happen. Do you ever do sensory deprivation tanks?
I haven't tried that yet. I've heard about it.
Me neither. And I think it's phenomenal. It sounds phenomenal. Apparently
let's do one.
Okay, let's do it, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you local to me, by the way?
Nope, I'm in Minnesota right now. I'm not doing a lot of traveling right now, but in a couple months I'll be doing more traveling.
Sweet.
Cool? Apparently, you asked about the heat. So yeah, the heat just kind of kicks my ass. I feel like I'm in like a sauna, just every day walking around like I'm a bubble boy sauna, pretty much. So as the heat winds down, I do a little bit more traveling, especially to the south.
I imagine that the Guillain-Barré or whatever, it's not like it's what's happening is things are happening, and then they'll kind of like refer to it as a syndrome of thing, but like, so whatever's happening, I bet it's causing heat. The nerves, if they're really sensitive, it's probably like super, super hot. It like just the tips or something are super hot, which is why you're feeling heat. Well, I don't know if this is true, but it could be.
Could be friction. Yep. Internal friction.
Do you, I'm about to go in the sauna today, actually, now that we're talking about it.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, the heat helps, but it'll wipe me out. So it's like I do infrared sauna, stuff like that, but cold is kind of my friend.
Do you do cold plunges?
Yep. Cold plunges are awesome. So yeah, the gym that I go to they turn the hot tub into a cold plunge, which you can it's a large one. So it's like you're swimming in a frozen.
Oh, lake. Epic. Do you put your head under when you do it?
Sometimes. Yeah. Yep.
What temperatures do you normally do?
I don't know the exact one. But yeah, pretty cold.
I did 55 and then I did a 43 degree, I think it was. And then I try to do like a 34 or 35 and it hurt. It was like dull nerve pain hurt.
Yeah.
Do you find that?
I think I did a 30. That sounds familiar.
Does the dull nerve pain or whatever that pain of the cold, does it like hurt less for you in this state?
It does. So like just talking about water, like I started doing scuba diving and that's the first like anything that I don't have pain. So like the water just it's between being in the water and the breathing. So like my breathing had to change obviously to breathe out of the mask, the tank and everything like that. So it's like doing yoga underwater without any kind of pain and full range of motion. So yeah, I never would have done scuba diving before all this, but now it's just like that's kind of my jam.
Well, that's fascinating that underwater, is it salt water when you're under?
Yeah. Well, I did it in regular water or whatever, Minnesota water, first in a pool, then the water in lakes. And then I went down to both Florida and Cayman Brac, so Cayman Islands. And that was it was amazing. Probably the salt. Yeah.
I wonder if it was the pressure because, I'm like, you go underwater, you start to feel less pain almost to the point where you said there's no pain. You literally said no pain.
Yeah.
Is it you've got temperature, obviously, you've got the chemicals, and then you've got the pressure, the water. So if you're getting squeezed by the water, do you ever get in like hyperbaric? I think it's hyperbaric, the term where you go into like pressure tanks.
Hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Yep. That helps a lot. That
is it similar? Is that where it compresses your body?
Yeah. That's a feeling that I get. But yeah, and then I'm wearing a wetsuit too. So that kind of helps because yeah, anything on my arms and legs, fingers, toes, it feels like you wear rings. So imagine like putting a ring in boiling water and then putting it on. So that feels all the time. If I wear a watch or a ring or anything like that.
I see. So sensitivity to friction. So like if your skin gets rubbed, okay, yeah. But if the wetsuit
in water, I don't have any of that. Which is just like it's a breath of fresh air,
And the sunlight is probably adjutant, so you're not getting hit by the sunlight because you're under the water, or at least the index is getting refracted a little bit.
Yeah, it's wild. I got to start doing that more often. But
whoa, yeah. If you become
incredible, what's that? Yeah, scuba, water, all these kind of like sensations. We have all these different senses, and it's like, why not maximize them? We got a body that can, appreciate the different levels.
Yeah, dude, soaking in the tub. There's something about buoyancy, man, and the compression and the lift. Like my super, super sore legs felt totally fine in the tub. Totally fine. It was wild. They said about the pyramids. I'll leave you with this. They said about the pyramids that the King's Chamber, there's these sarcophagus, and that they thought they were burial. But I talked to Corin Nemec, who was telling me they're actually sensory deprivation tanks from back in the day. They would pour salt water in. Dudes would get inside and cover them up with these stone, and then guys would be like, down these, like, you see these like shafts and things that go down into the chamber, and these guys are like making vibe or something. This is kind of a supposition, no one knows for sure, but that they would vibrate. And they do these things in Egypt. You go and they say that you get activated at the pyramids. They do activation, DNA activation.
Wow.
I wonder, since there is heat, there's a lot of heat in there, but that might be a cool place to go, is go do one of those activation tours.
Okay.
George St. Pierre went with, I think, Jimmy Corsetti, and he got activated, he was in there getting the vibration. And when he came out, he was like, I'm going to win the championship again. He was in retirement. And Jimmy's like, and George was like, I don't know. Like,
I think we need that as people. I mean, this stuff sounds out there just because nobody's tried it enough, and everything's going to work for different bodies as well. So it's like, yeah, that sounds like a great adventure.
I love you, man. Thank you for suggesting we do this time. And we've been talking about getting, so let's do it again sometime, or so on maybe on your channel we can do something.
You can come on my channel and we'll talk all kinds of stuff.
Badass, because I do want to know more about the dream. I mean, but I think now's a good time to stop. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, well, no, I can go back and kind of do some notes and try to like break down time, like, because you're asking about timelines, and I think that's part where I really need to break down. So yeah, we can make it a part 2 and come back with a little bit more, breaking it down.
I like the sound of it. Ladies and gentlemen, Drew Outstanding. Thanks for coming, Drew. Always a pleasure, man. And so go follow Drew on X at Drew Outstanding. The link is in the description.
Yep. And then YouTube Operation Outstanding in Field.
Ooh, I'll put that link in the description too. And you got any upcoming projects or anything?
Next week I'll be in Chicago for a adaptive sports race. Or it's not a race, it's a ride. So about 50 miles over the course of 3 days, going around Chicago. So I'll be speaking and just kind of hyping up all these 50 veterans, just making it through it. A lot that have either missing limbs or other mental or physical issues going on, but they're willing to get out there. So I'm there to help them, and then I'll be part of the ride too.
Oh, cool. That sounds awesome. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks, Drew. Bye, everybody.